Space rock, prog rock. The residents are regular visitors. Lord Cthulhu is a musician.
Oh, boy.
They've had guest appearances by bands like Wire. If you remember them, they were one of like the first or second generation of the English punk rockers. And it just goes all over the place. And if you were born in Bugtown, you have this ability to shift between these different reality levels. So you can literally, the post can be chasing you through 15 different realities, including one where everybody looks like Brian Eno. So it makes no sense in context, but if you read it, you can sort of understand what it's going on about. And they're like absolutely not role models in any sense of the word. The joke is, you know, if you see the post, do not try to apprehend them, notify the authorities, and then run like hell.
Well, there you go.
I like that. Book and or comic book?
Okay, well, book, Foxfire by Joyce Carol Oates, was a movie that actually kickstarted Angelina Jolie's career.
That's right.
But that movie doesn't have everything that was in the book.
That never does.
It never
unfortunately does not.
So, Foxfire by Joyce Carol Oates essentially is about a girl gang. So, definitely recommend that. It's one of my favorite books. And
that's what bonded us when we first met. Was I had the Foxfire tattoo.
Yes. And I could go with the typical everyone has to read Sandman from Vertigo Comics, but I am not. I'm going to go with another comic book that a lot of people, that I actually was surprised that I even enjoyed, and it is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. It is very sexually explicit, so do not read this book do not read this book around kids.
Or in public.
Or you can in public as long as you're covered.
Right.
It's basically about a space alien family who's trying to get away from their military life and try to start a new life. And I can't really explain it. It's an alien story set in a completely different world. There's an island. No, I'm sorry. There's a planet that has robots, and they're essentially for sexual purposes only. Yeah, it's definitely, again, sexually explicit. Is it
weird that makes me want to read it actually now?
It has won Eisner Awards in the comic book industry, and yeah, again, it's another one that if you pick up like volumes 3 or 4 or issue whatever, you're gonna be like, what? What's going on? What? So again, start volume 1. So Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. But you still should read Sandman.
Well, anyway, as for our recommendations, actually, unfortunately, we're going to have to make this a part 2 because your battery on your computer is about to die.
Yeah, it is.
So,
I'm down to 24%.
Like, literally 24%, the battery on this computer is about to die.
So get a power brick for that?
Yeah, but it's in the other room.
I see.
Get it?
I have nowhere to plug it in.
That's the thing, we're not...
we could probably do our recommendations for book and comic book, and then that might have to be it then.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds a good
All
way to wrap
right,
it
so,
yeah.
really quick, for me, one, if you want to completely mindfuck your childhood, pick up Thundercats, if you can find it, by Wildstorm. Yes, I am talking about Thunder, as in Thundercats, ho, but it totally, like, basically Lion-O, like, disappears into the Sword of Omens, comes back X amount of time later, and, like, 20-some-odd years have passed, and Mumra took shit over, and things got really fucked up. And... yeah, it's just, again, this ain't a Saturday morning cartoon, kids. That's all I'm going to tell you.
You're reading it, making faces.
My childhood was like, I didn't know what to make of this. It was like, some of this I might have fantasized about as a kid. I just never fruitioned it actually happening. Leave it at that. Second I'm going to recommend is Joker by DC. If you have not read Joker yet, you must read Joker. It's probably one of the best fucking books out there. I always recommend Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan, you must absolutely read. That is on the top of the list. From the independent realm, it's funny because of the book you recommended this evening, like that. I'm going to recommend Fanboys vs. Zombies. Yes. It only has 5 volumes. if you are a fanboy, if you've been to cons, it is full with Easter eggs. It's funny. It's gory. It's awesome. Fanboys vs. Zombies is only 5 volumes. You gotta read it. And of course, I'd be remiss not to freaking recommend a Deadpool book.
Yeah, seriously, right? What's wrong with you?
So, I am going to recommend 2. One, I'm going to recommend Deadpool vs. Carnage. Deadpool vs. Carnage was absolutely amazeballs. So you absolutely must read that one. And of course, just released on trade paperback as well is Deadpool Back in Black, which basically goes back into the 80s when Spidey just literally dumps the Venom symbiote, and the symbiote finds a new host to help mend its heart. Yes, and like I said, not physically, as in relationship dumps. So it's rather interesting. It was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed Back in Black and everything like that. So those are my 5 recommendations.
Alright. Regular standard book, I'm going to go with The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern.
The night begins to shine. Sorry.
Who would have thought, right? I have like 5 different editions of this book because upon reading it, I became obsessed with this book. It is not a chick book. Guys can read this too. It is very whimsical, very magical, surrounding a circus that just appears out of nowhere and magically is able to move from state to state to country to country. Fun fact, the author of this book began it during National Novel Writing Month, which is NaNoWriMo, and she just took the ball and ran with it and ended up getting the book published approximately 35 years later. So to anybody that participates in NaNoWriMo like I do, you can become that. And the book has sold so well. It is a very wonderful book with a little bit of love twisted into it, but of course there's just more to it when it comes to the magic and the magicians.
I have a feeling I recommended The Night Circus when we did the Nervers the first time.
You might have.
I might have.
You might have.
I have to.
As far as comic book, I would recommend Batwoman Elegy.
Yes.
It was the very first run of Batwoman that they had done a few years back. Elegy, however, by Greg Rucka, is a beautifully drawn book. The way the panels are sequenced and cut really add to the story itself, and you really get an inside look into, I believe her name is Kate, or Kat, I can't remember, I think it's Kate, into her personal life being a lesbian and being a superhero. So, definitely look into that. Batwoman Elegy was the first story prior to the New 52 reboot. So Elegy has nothing to do with any of the story arcs surrounding it. Everything afterwards does, unfortunately. So this is a standalone comic book that you can read without knowing anything else.
Awesome.
And that is it. Unfortunately, that is going to be it. We're going to do part 2 next week with, I guess, all of our movie recommendations.
Yeah, so that movies and a couple other things, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that being said, Miss Foxy, why don't you take us on out?
All right. Oh, thank you, Neil. He says, awesome Salem shirt. I got the star right there, too. Okay, you can catch us all on social media. Facebook.com/NerdHuntersRadio, Facebook.com/FoxyFoxy/
Damien Dragon Entertainment.
Damien Dragon Entertainment /NightwingCT /
Joycey Dani, JoyceYDani
/
Stiff shots.
That way you can get more information about the lovely bands he spoke about, and definitely a lot of Orphan Black information.
And he's an excellent photographer if you need photography work.
These two have made me feel so beautiful in photos. You guys have no idea. Okay? We are also on Twitter at STV Damien Dragon, at Viva Foxy Foxy, at Joycey Dani, at Stiff Shots.
Everything's stiff shots.
Yeah, it is. Instagram. Go ahead.
Bazinga!
Instagram at Viva Foxy Foxy, at NightwingCT, at Joycey Danny 78. Are you on Instagram?
Hell yeah.
Why the fuck don't I follow you?
I don't know.
At Stiff Shots. I have to do that after this show.
Absolutely.
Holy
You'll
God.
love
And YouTube at DVargas802, NightwingCT,
Danny Suicide of Photo.
it. You know where this is going.
Stiff
Stiff
Shots.
shots.
All right. You can, every Friday at 9 p.m.
Bitch pudding!
Bitch pudding. You can listen to us live every Friday night on Facebook Live, on our Facebook page, Nerd Herders Radio, and Spreaker.com/filling_the_void. You can listen to playback of this episode and all of our other episodes on Spreaker.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, I think, something else that I can't remember, and iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
It's the most important one.
It's the most important one. Anyway.
To everybody that is listening to us on iHeartRadio, thank you so much. We just took a look at the numbers the other day from our boss man David, and
Whoa.
everything on iHeartRadio is doing absolutely amazing. So to everyone listening to us on those apps, thank you so much. We definitely appreciate it. And we will be here next week, believe it or not, because July's been in every other week.
Everything's kind of getting back to normal and everything like that.
Yes, so join us next week at 9 p.m. We were going to be doing a part 2 of the Nerd Herders Recommends.
And I'll be a year older.
You will.
Oh.
It's okay.
You know what age?
Yeah, do you know how old you are this
He's
time?
5.
14 forever.
No, you're
That'd
5.
be dirty, no.
Just remember what Calvin and Hobbes once said. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Exactly.
I liked that.
It's very true.
And on that note, we will talk to you guys next week.
Play that jam. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Foxy, you're my nerd herder.
Oh my god, you're my nerd herder.
Spike, you my nerd herder.
My nerd herders.
Danny, you are nerd herder.
My nerd herder.
And
You're
Mr.
all
Ryan,
nerd
please,
herders.
thank you for joining us. You're our nerd herder. Later, nerd herders. We'll see you next week. Hit it.
I got the nerd